I'm over halfway done War and Peace, and it is a very good book. And it has a lot of ideas and people that, when you mix it all together, and historical events, and it's putting these people in situations that really tests them. And I mean, as far as I can tell, it seems pretty realistic. I don't know if everything's actually, like, true. And of course, Tolstoy, he's got his own biases and stuff. But overall, the whole story is, it's kind of genius. It's mixing up ideas like, in history, people are, they're confined, especially in retrospect. They have to do what they're doing. And it feels like they have free will. And of course, I believe in free will, so I think they do have free will. But they're also being controlled and manipulated by other people and the events that they're in. And it's so strange because it feels like this person is this person and they're never going to change. And then an event happens and they change so much inside of themselves and they can't go back to who they were before. And it happens so many times in that book with so many different people. There's like a super innocent girl and she's super great and awesome and everyone likes her and she's so innocent. And then she messes up one time with one guy and it takes 3 days, and now her innocence is totally ruined forever. And she can't go back, not all the way anyway. And so she just becomes a new person. And some of these people in the story, they seem like they're so powerful and they can do whatever they want. Napoleon, he seems like a guy who can snap his fingers and boom, all of Europe is just his now. And he can just take everything, and his people are so, they're so, they love him so much because he represents French power. And that's what, like, when I went to France, I really admired that about the French was they have a beautiful power that they show off, and it's charming rather than the strict German way of showing off power, which is righteous and strict, and it doesn't seem quite as charming there. But in France, they have this huge castle with all of the most expensive paintings, and they speak their French, and you just mix it all together and it's just so cool. And that's what Napoleon seems like. But what he really is a man who is persuaded by impulses and his emotions, and he's not actually a military genius. He just rallies his troops because a war, a battle, is not won from wonderful strategies and planning and behind the scenes. A war is won when each individual soldier, there's like 100 soldiers on the front line, and they decide to charge with all of their courage. That is when the battle is won because those soldiers did that. And then the soldiers behind them just followed suit. And the soldiers behind them followed suit because they're going to follow whatever the leader does. And the leader isn't the guy in the back, the leader is the guy in the front. I think that's one good thing that some military leaders understand is if they go to the front and they are the person who is charging, they can force a sort of mentality, because mentality is the thing that wins wars. And wars doesn't just mean wars that are violent, it also means the war of minds, the war of society. If you are in the front row of society taking the blows of of the ruling class, the blows of the blows of talking, of saying your ideas, and allowing yourself to maybe be put under scrutiny and ridicule, that is risky. But it makes you the leader. It makes you the person who is going ahead and doing what he thinks is right. And of course, you have to understand the laws that you are under when you're doing that. When you are in an army and you're fighting a war, there are certain laws that you have. The law of killing and being killed, and making sure that you have a group of people around you. You can't be the only one who charges. If there's only one guy who just rushes at an army, that guy is dead 100%, and probably won't even do anything to the army. But if you play by the laws and you make it so that everyone around you goes with you, then you are safe, or safer anyway. And so if you say your ideas out loud in society and you persuade others to go with you, and you play into what they want and what they don't want, and you understand them, then that is when you rise in power. But even then, even once you've risen to power, you're locked in. Napoleon was locked in. You still have emotions. You're still a human being. A lot of people don't understand that whenever you're interacting with some sort of front, some sort of object, like let's say you're interacting with a store and you want to buy something, it feels like that store is a different entity than a person. But really what that store is a group of people painting up a store and then pretending. And those people are still people. And so if you treat them like people, and you find what they want, which is money probably, but I guess it isn't as important if you're just a customer and you're just walking in and you're buying something. But if you own a business and you need to interact with that other business in order to gain something, you can treat them like people, and you can say, I don't agree with what you put down in stone. What you wrote down on that stone is not applicable to me because I don't agree to it. And you need me. And you figure out what they need and you fix it. Or you cause them to need something and then you fix that. Maybe not the best strategy, but that is very War and Peace like to do that. And it's got so many ideas in it. The story's got so many ideas. People change, and there's nothing you can do about it. They can seem like the best, most moral person, but they have a weakness, and they fall into it, and then they say sorry, and they get better, and then they fall into it again. If you're a drug addict and you stop doing drugs, it will always be there with you, and then you can take it. You can fall into temptation, or you cannot. And in retrospect, when you are dead and long gone, hundreds of years later, and someone reads about you, or I guess they get their mind implant and they like teleport the memories of your memories into themselves, and they're seeing what you did, they're like, oh yeah, well, you kind of were forced to do that because of all these circumstances. That's what Tolstoy would say. But I would say those circumstances made it very easy for you to do that, and you decided to fall into it. You let yourself fall into it. But I do agree, even if I don't agree that we don't have free will, I do agree that we don't have as much power as we think. And that history, it seems to be a thing that just repeats over and over again, and there's nothing that you can do to fight against it truly. You can't try to go against human nature. You need to flow with it. You need to allow yourself to be in the flow of history.